Okay, good morning, good day to ABM and GAS students. This is a video lecture in applied economics. This is a continuation of the discussion that we've had last or yesterday. So in this particular discussion, we are going to talk about the changes in the supply curve. So how do it basically change from one point to another point. So those are the things that we are going to talk about in this particular video lecture. So this is just like or almost the same on how do the demand changes. No, basically there are times that changes in the demand moves along the curve or at the same time shifts away from the curve to the left or to the right. So in this discussion, we're going to analyze how does that happen in the supply curve. Okay, so let's talk about the first way on how the supply curve changes. So it is what you call the movement along in the supply curve. So movement along in the supply curve is generally and directly affecting from the price to the quantity supply. Okay, the movement along the supply curve is brought about the changes in the price commodity. So meaning to say, there is a direct relationship when it comes to the price and the quantity supply. So if you're going to take a look at it, if the price increases, then there will be time that the quantity supply will also increase. Because if you're going to take a look at it, if you're going to take a look back on our discussion yesterday, the main motivation of the suppliers is to basically earn more money, the profit. Meaning to say, in order for them to earn more money, they have to increase their supplies to increase the chances of selling it to the market and generally generating profit. Now, when there is a decrease in the price, this will definitely cause the decrease of quantity supplied because it will lessen, number one, the motivation of the sellers to supply more because they will be getting a smaller profit because of a smaller or lower price. But if there is a higher price, then their motivation is higher and they will be producing more when it comes to the quantity supplied. So it is a direct relationship. So it goes like this. So if you're going to take a look at it, okay, this is, let's say, for an example, the price and the quantity, right? So at this particular price, let's say this is 10 pesos, all right? And then in this 10 pesos, you can basically produce, for example, 20 boxes, right? Let's say 20 boxes of candies, for example. Okay, but if the price increases, let's say for an example that it reached 40 pesos, okay, it increased, right? So then this quantity supply would be at 60 or let's say 80 boxes of candies. Okay? So there is a direct relationship as the price increases, the quantity supply increases as well. That is the reason why supply is always sloping upwards comparing to the demand, right? So that's how we look at, or that's how you look at the movement along the supply curve. Now, let's talk about the shifts in the supply curve because here, right, we discussed that there are factors affecting the changes in the supply, right? So if you're going to take a look at it, it was not indicated here, right? The raw materials, the inputs, the taxes, the expectations, um, and also technology is not here, right? So this one, I know, is for quantity supply, but this one is for the supply curve itself. The shifts in the supply curve is generally caused by what? By changes in other factors. factors, right? So you have to remember this, that there is a changes in other factors that affect supply except the price of the commodity. There's an exemption primarily because it is already given that the price itself would affect the quantity of the supply. But here, this is where we see, for example, increases in minimum wage or decreases in the taxes of the firm would definitely be represented in this particular graph. For example, what happened in the market is that there is an increase in the minimum wage, okay? There is an increase in the minimum wage of the buyer. So let's say for an example, the minimum wage from 750, it peaks to 900 pesos, right? And of course, as seller, you want to, for example, as company owner, diba, there would be definitely an increased cost of production. Meaning to say, is yung pinapasahod mo dun sa mga tao mo, and then yung binabayad mo sa technology, sa mga taong nag-cooperate nung technology mo, would basically increase the cost of production. Meaning, from a minimum wage of 750 pesos, let's say yung cost of production mo ay nakakagawa ka na dun ng 10,000, but since nagkaroon ng increase in the minimum wage, naging 950 yung minimum wage, then ang napuproduce mo na lang ay, let's say for an example, 8,000. See? Meaning, pag ganyan, bumababa yung supply mo. And pag bumaba yung supply mo, in the graph, the supply would shift curve to the left. Okay? Ibig sabihin, tumaas si cost of production, bababa si supply. Tumaas yung cost of production mo kasi tumaas yung sahod ng mga manggagawa mo, ng maintenance ng technology mo, and etc. Right? Sige. Now, if the supply curve shifts to the left, it is indicated that the supply is declining. So take a look at this graph. All right? Okay, kung titingnan nyo dito, okay, nag-shift siya papunta sa left. Same, prices is 3,000, but here, okay, from the original, okay, original supply na 5, let's say for an example, 5 million yung kaya nilang ma-supply for 3,000 pesos cost of production, 5 million product. Okay? Or let's say 5,000 para maging realistic. But because of the increase in minimum wage, yung 3,000 na yon nandito, nasa 4,000 na lang yung kaya nilang ma-produce. Okay? So bumababa significantly and nag-shift siya papunta po sa left. Okay? So yun yung changes kung paano mag-apply yung changes when it comes to supply. That is when it is decreasing. What about if it's increasing? What's the example? For example, it's like this. A bountiful harvest can shift the supply to the right. For example, you are in a farm and then usually yung stocks mo ay they're only producing, let's say for an example, 10,000 eggs. But because of bounty harvest, sumusobra yung mga na-reach mo yung 15,000 eggs. What will happen to your supply? Meaning to say, your supply would definitely increase. And pag nag-increase siya, ang movement ng curve ng graph is going to the right. Okay? So titingnan natin dito, same graph. Okay? Same, 3,000 pesos, pero may bountiful harvest, let's say on a farm. Okay? Wala kang ginawa sa production, same yung income, same lahat. Same yung minimum, yung wage ng mga manggagawa. Okay? Pero merong significant change doon sa harvest mo. Nandito siya. At 3,000, kaya mong makaproduce ng 6,000 eggs. Okay? Meaning, more supply yung na-produce mo. Meaning, more chances to what? More chances to earn. Okay? Ganun yung nangyayari sa quantity supply. Okay? So as I move forward in this discussion, if you have any questions, you can just basically ask me through Messenger once I upload this particular video lecture. So yan okay? Pag nag-shift yung curve, papunta ng left, meaning to say, the supply is what? The supply is decreasing. Okay? Is decreasing. Is decreasing. But when the supply moves or shifts outwards, it is increasing. Okay? At the same level of price of commodity. Okay? I hope that everything is getting clear. Now, let's talk about how do we determine the prices of commodities, right? So about the determination of prices of commodities. Now, the million dollar question is that how much should I sell my product? Okay? If you are a supplier, how would you know that this is the right price for my product? Or basically, when analyzing the demand and supply, what you have to understand, or what I always tell you is that we have to learn how the market works. And we have to know what are the agreeable prices in the market itself. Okay? So there are several ways in order for us to identify how much price should we impose on a particular product. But ideally, I'd say ideally because as an economist, what you have to definitely do is basically look for the equilibrium price. Equilibrium price is when, in the demand and supply analysis, this is when the graph basically intersects. Okay, I'll be showing examples to you later on how it intersects. But the equilibrium happens when the buyers and sellers transact in a market where they agree on the price of the commodity and the amount to be sold and bought. Just please remind or be mindful of the word agree. Because when we say agree, meaning to say the satisfaction of the buyer and the satisfaction of the seller is met in an equilibrium price situation. But in third world countries, that's not always the case. That's not always the situation because most of the time, due to intrinsic motivations, we have to at some point really meet halfway because this is an ideal manner in order for us to find and identify the price. But if we're going to apply it in reality, that's not always the case. So what's the case, right? What's the case in the market itself, and how does that happen? Because this is an ideal example. But before I give you the case in the market, this is what you see when you are achieving equilibrium price. Okay, so this is where the equilibrium price is. Okay, how much price should I impose and how much product should I produce? Okay, those particular idea is necessary in order for us to be logical at some point when it comes to putting prices to our products. Right now, what am I talking about? Because this is the question earlier that can buyer and sellers agree all the time when it comes to prices. Eh, di ba, we have different factors. We have different factors. We have different salaries. There are different profile of the buyers. Then how do we meet all of those things? The truth is we don't meet all of them exactly the same. All right, that's the truth. You cannot please everybody. You cannot ask everybody to buy your products. You cannot really convince everybody for a reasonable price. That's the truth. Okay? Because it's not always the case. It's not all the time that prices or the buyers and sellers agree on a certain price. So what do we do? What do we do in economics in order for us to understand it even further? In this case, okay, the principle is this equilibrium. That's what happens. when the amount of buyers are willing to buy is, okay, their willingness to buy is not the same as the amount that producers are willing to sell at a given time. Example, kamalman nga kito manok mo or kamalman nga ka kilo ka karne mo. All right? Meaning to say, on the perspective of the seller or of the buyer, they are not satisfied of this particular price. But for the seller, that is what they are willing to sell because para hindi rin sila malugi. And in that case, that's what you call this equilibrium already. Okay? And if there is this equilibrium, then what do you have to do? What should the market do in order for us to solve these problems? What we have to basically do is face the problems when it comes to shortage and surplus. Because kung titingnan nyo, pag nagkaroon ng disequilibrium, it's either I'll not just buy it or I'll not sell it anymore. I'll just keep it. Okay? Assuming that the products are setting aside the factors na pwede silang mabulok, pwede silang masira, or etc. Okay? But if that's going to be the case, then there's going to be a shortage, there's going to be a surplus. Kasi wala nang nagbabayad. Okay? Now, what do we do? Okay? This is what we do when it comes to disequilibrium. Okay? And this is going to be the last part of this particular video lecture. Because changes in equilibrium is brought by unexpected equilibrium in the market. Now, because of this particular phenomenon, prices changes from time to time. Because it changes, not because trip lang nila, but it changes because they create new equilibrium situation. Meaning to say, they meet halfway. They make amends. Alright? Ano siya sa reality? Basically, tawan. Bumili ako ng kalamansi, 1/4 ay 30 pesos. Sige, hindi tayo nagkakasundo. Tawarin kong 25. Okay? Okay, sige, 25. That's new. That's creating new equilibrium situation in the market. And that's how we basically do it in this particular problem. All right? So in this lesson, I know you learned what is equilibrium and disequilibrium. How do it happen in particular situations in the market? You were also familiar on how do the curves or the supply changes when it comes to market. All right. Moving forward, I will be discussing furthermore when it comes to simultaneous changes in the demand and supply. That's going to be tomorrow in our face-to-face discussion. Thank you very much. That's it for me in this particular video lecture. If you have any questions or clarifications, please let me know in the messenger. Thank you.